And welcome to Community Matters for another day. I'm Ian Pilkington, guest in the studio today from YMCA and YMCA Discovery College. It's a pleasure to welcome Tom Lavis and Joe Stephenson. Good morning, gents.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
That's right. Thanks for coming in on a what was a lovely sunny morning, but the curtains are closed and I've not been outside since, so I don't know what it's like now. Any clues?
Well, it is sunny, but it's much warmer in here, shall we say?
It's very nice in here. Yeah, it's a spring morning in Plymouth, so it's got those things going with it. Joe, welcome. First time on the radio for you with us.
It is indeed, yeah.
So you're new-ish in at Discovery College, aren't you?
So I've been in post since September. I got offered the job about this time last year, actually. So it was a big build up to the job. We had a good chance to do a big transition with the previous head, and I hit the ground running in September. We've had an incredible year for lots of different reasons, and I've had my own kind of health issues, and but we're doing really well at the moment, and we've just taken on a new deputy, and things are really positive at the moment, and we're moving towards the end of the year. Looking forward to our celebration event towards the end of the year as well.
Very good. And Tom, obviously, regular listeners would have heard, and viewers on our website would have seen you before. How are you doing? You're chief exec at YMCA.
Yeah, sorry you have to put up with me again. Look, it's about a year since I was last here. It's always a pleasure, may I add. Equally as pleasurable as running and working alongside the team at the YMCA. Fabulous group of people. I've got an amazing leadership team, amazing staff team, and they're all incredibly community focused.
That's okay. That looks like that's a setup for a Community Matters interview if ever I heard one.
I'd happily do it.
I would say, look, unpack a little bit of that then. Community focus. What did you mean by that, Tom?
So YMCA focus on 3 strategic areas at the moment, and I say at the moment because we're in the throes of launching our new strategic plan. So at the moment we do education, hence Joe's involvement, youth and family work, and then finally health and wellbeing. Moving into 2025, we're launching our 4th strategic area, which is around advice and support, and we've just been inducted into the Plymouth City Council's Health and Wellbeing Hub Alliance, as well as the Family Hub Alliance as well. So it's just allowing the YMCA to broaden its reach even further. Last year, stats have demonstrated that we supported 20 or just over 25,000 people in the city, and to put that into perspective, that's nearly 10% of Plymouth's population.
That's huge.
So when you sit down with your team and you talk about stats like that, they quite rightly should have a sense of pride.
That's something else. I mean, 10% of the city's population being supported by you guys. One of the less well known, more random, I don't know the best way to put this actually, ways you support. You've got that garden. I always remember being toured around the garden by Lee and thinking, this is incredible. And you get a lot of community engagement there, don't you?
So our community garden is overseen by the fabulous volunteers called the Y Growers. And this is where I put my hand up and go, I really am not much of a green-fingered gardener. So I owe them a lot. But we turned, going back 2018 it was, we turned an empty barren wasteland, and when I say barren, it was just overgrown, nettles, brambles, that type of thing, and they started cutting it all back and just making a kind of welcome area, so the students get to use it from the college. We've had Cub Scout groups, that type of thing, Girl Guides use it, local church groups, and it got quite popular and more volunteers got involved, and we established the Y Growers. And then as part of the deal of me not getting my fingers dirty, I had to do all the bid writing for everything they wanted. So it started off really simple with, can you write a bid for, I don't know, some pot planting stations and some bedding and stuff like that. And by the end, it turned into, we want an outdoor classroom, a greenhouse, a potting shed. And we've probably invested through grants and fundraising circa 40k in this area.
Very good.
But as a result now, the Y Growers, these volunteers, are producing 1,800 meals every year from that garden, and we give it away completely free with our partners at Provide Devon. if that's not a great community thing to do. So it's people from the community growing for people in their community. That's community all over for me.
That's brilliant. And do you keep that like tightly locally geographic on that particular part of your work? Is it really for that area you're serving?
Yeah, predominantly the volunteers are from our surrounding areas, Hornicknow in particular. But I wouldn't put any barriers. If you've got a green-fingered person out there who loves helping out and wants to get involved, there's no barrier there. Like I say, we support all of Plymouth.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're more than welcome to get involved.
That's really cool. I mean, the YMCA, we've talked for years. I've talked with you a few times now, spoke with Tony years before that, spoken with all kinds of people at the YMCA about the perception of the YMCA in Plymouth and how, which used to be, they got some beds overnight for people, which is absolutely nothing to do with anything. But the vast range of services that are on offer, from that to things that I've accessed most recently would be the climbing wall with my kids. There's just so much on offer, isn't there?
I find, and I've said this quite publicly to my board as well, so whilst the YMCA has an international brand recognition, it's also one of our biggest faults because the name itself doesn't say what it does.
No.
So I'll give you a great example. If you said Cancer Research UK, again, another equally big and well-established charity, and they do great work, may I add, but you know what they do. When you say YMCA, if I talk about disability climbing, or I talk about the community garden, or I talk about we've got a fully established post-16 college, all the way down to we have a soft play, and we do a WISE group for the elderly to tackle social isolation. None of those things fall into the title of YMCA. But we genuinely support our community from 0 years old all the way through to our 96.
That's really cool, Tom. I'll tell you what, we'll take a break for some music, come back and unpack some of that. So we've probably got content, 4 hours of radio just about to come up. We won't do that, folks. Only a 1 hour show. We're back with Tom and with Joe right after this. Welcome back. We're having fun in the studio. You may or may not figure out why if the guys put out on video on the website what we just did in the studio. They may not. They may. Who knows? Tom Lavis and Joe Stephenson in the studio on Community Matters this morning talking about YMCA and Discovery College. Tom, you touched on, and it would be far too much, you rattled off a number of the things that the YMCA in Plymouth does. We can't go into all of them. Can we just maybe take a minute, turn to Joe, and talk about the college? Because you're fresh in from September 2024. Can you say what your experience in education in the city's been and what attracted you to Discovery College?
So I started my teaching career 15 years ago at City College Plymouth, and I've worked there. Actually, I worked there for 15 years. So I was a science teacher, trained. And I really enjoyed that, and then I ended up running the department, and then naturally progressing into running a second department on top of that as a curriculum lead development officer. And the job itself it became quite overbearing for me personally. So if I talk about my own experience, and it's certainly not to talk negatively about the college at all, because I had a great time there. I owe them a lot in terms of my career.
Superb asset in the city.
It was, for me personally, I needed a change, a fresh break. And I saw the head of college come up at Discovery College. And I'll be honest, I hadn't even heard of Discovery College at the time. But, I did my research, went to the interview, and I was blown away on my interview day with the environment, the way I was welcomed in. It was probably the best interview experience I've ever had in that respect, and I felt really welcome. And I left that day, it was a whole day interview, but I left that day feeling really adamant that this job is for me. And thankfully Tom phoned me about half an hour later and offered me the job, which was such brilliant news for me. And then I had a 5-month notice period. I actually had a 3-month notice period, but it took 5 months for me to end the job and start and replace Kirsten, the old head. But again, we spent a lot of time working with Kirsten and doing a handover, and then I've come in to this job, and it's been an experience, But again, it's what's really struck me over this last couple of months is the job itself is no different to what I was doing previously. I'm running curriculum, I'm working with students, I'm managing staff, looking after people's well-being, but the environment is very, very different. Working for a charity is very, very different to what I'm used to. And it's much more in line with what I want to get out of my career. And, you know, I'm really happy at the moment. I'm feeling really well supported. I can Tom backs me to make the changes I need to make, to bring in staff that we need to make. And the decision-making process that we have within the YMCA and the Discovery College setup is an immediate answer. So if we need a new staff member, we get that new staff member, or we're told we can't have that new staff member. I don't mind being told no. I'd rather not be held in limbo, waiting, when we've got kids in classrooms that need teachers, so that's been the difference for me.
Quite an agile sort of setup in terms of it moves through quickly, decisions are made. That might have a little bit to do with your leadership style, Tom, just a guess.
Yeah. When I became the CEO in 2019-20, one of the first things I wanted to do was change the entire structure. I did it slowly, don't worry. It wasn't it wasn't an instant rip up, but I have a passionate belief in flatline structures where everyone is valued and there's less of the dog eat dog to try and get on top of each other to get ahead. Whereas I would like to think our current leadership team, they're all on the same level. We meet every week for an hour and everyone shares their problems and everyone shares their ability to overcome those problems. So decisions are made quickly because they're all in the same room to make them at the same time. And what we found is it's been very effective. It brings people together. And people who historically you may have been competitive with are all of a sudden helping you to succeed at your job because they're not stepping on you to try and get ahead. It's been a really, really good thing for the organisation and hopefully for the staff who are part of that, because you want them motivated and working hard and being driven, but in the right manner. So it shouldn't always be about money because we are a charity, so it should be about the social values that come out of the work that you do.
Yeah, I mean, that did, coming back to you, Joe, that came through in what you said about reasons for the job. It was, you didn't mention money. It was about the culture you felt there, the experience you had in the interview, what that spoke to you of the job itself. So pretty big expectations going in, I'd expect. If you had a really good interview like that, going in, you'd have had big expectations. Boss in the room, but have they been met?
He was very good in his interview. I'll give him that.
I think I guess there was a bit of pressure coming in September. I remember attending the trustees meeting not long after that, and Vic introduced me as the star signing and on a free transfer. And I think actually the team in place there are what's key to this. Actually, I think I've been really fortunate in the last couple of weeks to be able to take on a new deputy who I've worked with previously at City College, and she's come across and hit the ground running. We work really well together. So I've got that. I feel like I've got a right hand that's just doing the job over there, and I can focus on other things, and that's what's helped over the last couple of weeks, certainly. But I feel that pressure mainly because I want to do well for the students. At the end of the day, we if we're failing as students, then we might as well pack up and go home. Essentially.
They're what it's all about.
Absolutely that. So we'll see where we end up in July with results, but we can plan for next year and we get a proper run at it in September next year, and we can probably plan for it.
That's great, Joe. We're back to hear more from Tom and Joe after this. Don't go anywhere. Don't forget, if you miss anything on the interview, you want to catch it up again, we'll give you the address, but check us out on our Listen Again on our website. We're back right after. And welcome back to Community Matters, and still joined in the studio by Tom and Joe. They haven't gone anywhere. They haven't run away. And in all seriousness, actually, let's come back to that. You spoke about well-being. In all seriousness, you're not running away anywhere just at the minute, are you?
No. Far from running. No, I've got my own personal health problems at the moment. So I'm a 44-year-old man who was relatively healthy and found out not that long ago I need a double hip replacement. So that was quite an impact on my well-being and my ability to undertake daily life. And then I found out even not that long ago, I had a triple perforated disc in my spine as well. So therefore I've been hobbling around as much as I can on a crutch. So I've been noticeably, in actual fact, because once you have a crutch, it's very visual. So I've been noticeably impaired.
Yeah. And we were sharing off air, and I think it'd be good if you could mention it. That lived experience has informed how you're looking even at your own physical environment at the YMCA, isn't it?
Yeah, so we've done a lot of development work and modernisation of the YMCA. I mean, it was built in 1973, for example, and sadly, accessibility and disability were not well thought of by architects at the time, whereas nowadays that's the absolute expectation, minimum, I would argue. So tackling my own building and trying to get it up to bit like modern day building regs has been a challenge, and I felt and thought we'd done a really good job, you know, with ramp access, automated doors, wider corridors, wider door entrances, that type of thing. So as a CEO, you're thinking, yeah, we're making really good progress on this. And that was up until all of a sudden I was on a crutch myself, and then I started to realise some of the issues still existing around the building. What a great case study, and what a great way to find out how you can further improve your building. And I've got no problem with that. Actually, I think that's been a very positive thing to take away from quite a negative position in my own life. So, yeah, don't worry. It's very much on my to-do list.
I mean, honestly, got to say, Tom, don't want to embarrass you, but from the few times I've met you, the fact that you've come out with a positive from, I'm going to need a double hip replacement and I've got a triple perforated disc, it's kind of typical from what I've seen. And that speaks a lot to the culture and the way that Discovery College and YMCA really run. Do you experience that when you're in there now, Joe, from a previously outside experience coming into it?
Yeah, I think our last leadership away day, Tom talked massively about positive mindset, growth mindset, and I think that is where we're at the moment. I think it's turning challenges into opportunities, and I feel empowered to make that happen, and that's what allows us to, you know, get the right team around us, which benefits the students in that respect.
Going to say that must inform your philosophy of education for the college as head of college and with students coming through. I love that phrase, turning challenges to opportunities. That really runs through as a thread in what the school's doing, what the college is doing.
I'd like to think we are. I think it's something that we probably need to work on over the, you know, I've only been there 6 months, certainly can't build Rome in a day. But I think it's something that we what I'd like to do is raise aspirations and ambitions in the young people. The young people that come to us are, they would be out of education, employment and training essentially if they weren't with us. And that means they come from certain demographics, and try not to be too stereotypical.
Yep.
But we need to build their ambitions and their aspirations to get them to places that benefit them essentially, and pull them out of maybe poverty or disadvantaged backgrounds.
I mean, there are areas of the city that we know about. We've talked about in a number of interviews on Cross Rhythms, where some areas of the city have challenges which everyone in the area is working hard to overcome. And you guys are located in an area that's like that.
Yeah, Honigno is currently situated in an LSOA deprivation decile. So sorry for the terminology. Deprivation decile 2, which puts it in the top 5% of deprivation in the country. So that's not just Plymouth. Yeah. So, we know full well the challenges in our community and what they are.
And that's not a reflection on the people. That's just something that Plymouth is trying to fix about Plymouth, isn't it? It's just gone that way. And there's a lot of work going on. And Discovery College YMCA are part of that work that's going on, along with a whole load of partners. So from your time and your involvement with the college as well, Tom, what would you say, give a standout of a student you think, oh, that really makes me smile when I remember that student?
I've got so many.
I know, I'm trying to peg it down to one. Give me one.
The best ones for me are cyclical. So what I mean by that is they've come to Discovery College because they've had their own personal challenges to overcome, whatever that may be, but I can think of 2 or 3 who currently work for the college, who have been through the system, gone away and got their teaching qualifications and come back to work there. If that's not an indication of a great work environment, a great workplace, I don't know what is. Yeah. Because at any stage they could have gone somewhere else and they've just gone, I love what you do here. You had this impact on my life, and now it's my chance to give back. That's a really cyclical, relationship to have with young people.
Your own journey was something. You started volunteering, didn't you? And then you went off to America and did football and all kinds of things.
16
you
years old, I started as a
journey.
volunteer down at the YMCA, nice and early. It was like 8 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. I was 16 and I was helping coach the young nippers, 5 to 7, I think they were at the time, years old. Just doing football at the weekend. Yeah, it's fabulous. I remember it really fondly.
Yeah. I remember you sharing about it. It was it was in your heart. It wasn't just a memory. It was something that's in the passion and driving what you're doing.
Well, the best thing about being a CEO is of the place that I started as volunteering is in that journey through many different departments and education, and now my current role is no one can ever leverage against me. You don't know what it's like to do my job, or you don't know what it's like to empty the bins. I have so many philosophies in my own leadership. I empty my own bin now. Never let anyone make me a cup of tea or coffee because I don't believe in it. Because why is anyone else's time more important than mine? So I think it's just subtle things can make a really big impact. And my journey has structured my thought processes now and my leadership styles now. I'm a great advocate for those small things.
Well, people speak highly of you in the city, Tom, and we'll leave it there and not embarrass you too much on that. We'll take a break for some music. We're back to hear more from Tom and Joe about Discovery College and YMCA right after this. And we're back with a clap. You may get that if the guys put it on social media. If you don't, that's just a random statement and we'll move on. Tom and Joe. Joe, let's have a think about that. Tom was sharing about his own life's experience and how that informs his leadership and his philosophy for what he's doing at YMCA. What about yourself and your background? 15 years at City College. What else has shaped you to want to be an educator? Let's start there, because that's a big old vocational calling.
I stumbled into it, if I'm honest. I think a lot of my colleagues probably agree. You don't necessarily choose to go into teaching. It's just something that you kind of fall into, and then you realise how rewarding it can be actually. So I had a passion for science and communicating science, and I saw this opportunity to go into that, and that's my background essentially. And over time, I worked with some brilliant leaders who allowed me to step up into positions that they then mentored me. And I learned a leadership style that I think I like to think, that works for people that I work with. And it certainly seems to be working at the moment with Discovery College, and the team seem to have taken well to me, which is always a bonus, And I think it's leadership for me through compassion, empathy, care. You're there to look after those people, to get the best out of them. They're not there to make your life easier. You're there to make their life easier. And I think, I go to work every day with that kind of mindset. That ultimately then, if I can make their lives easier, they're going to put more into their teaching. They're going to make the lessons better for students, and the students are going to do better in the long run. And that's hopefully where we're going to end up in the next couple of years.
I always find it interesting. You hopefully will agree with me, but I've never met a newly qualified teacher or a trainee teacher who's going through training going, I'm training to become a head teacher, or I'm coming to be a leadership education leader. That's
interesting.
There's an irony around that.
They talk about wanting to be a teacher.
Yep.
And then you become a head teacher.
I never wanted to be a manager. No. I always said, I'm never going to leave the classroom. But I think it's working with the right people that give you the opportunities and give you the right mentorship. And I think, again, coming to the interview day meeting, it wasn't just Tom, it was the whole package. The students interviewed me on the day. They put me under a lot of scrutiny, and the questions they asked me, they said, we like the current head. What are you going to do that keeps it the same?
The students interviewed for the role as well. They
did.
That's so cool, Tom.
I loved that.
It's so important, isn't it? At the end of the day, relationships between teachers and students is crucial, especially with the young people we work with. So I think giving them the opportunity to be part of the process, that whoever gets that job, they've had a say in it. Yeah. Less resistance from day one for Joe, because he's a chosen person, wasn't he?
I mean, right across the board in the conversation that we're having here, it's what's coming across is lived experience, your flat line organizational structure, everybody having a voice comes out really strong. Does that filter through in the day-to-day in the classroom at Discovery College, Joe?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I regularly give the students a voice. We send out, student surveys. I want to hear it, and we make it anonymous. You students, you do an anonymous survey. I want to hear it. I want to hear what it is that you're experiencing. The two I've done so far have been really highly positive, and a couple of pinch points that you can then work on, like cost of food in the cafe, or the waiting times on the food, or the fact they want a roof on their AstroTurf pitch, and then actually what you start to realise is, they're not moaning about the important stuff. Actually, that stuff's important, but it's minor stuff that we can fix. They're not moaning about the quality of their teaching. They like their teachers. They feel safe at college. And we're going to roll out another survey within the next couple of weeks. Make sure those students get those voices. Something I'd like to bring in over the next couple of weeks, something I've not had a chance to do yet, is actually sit with groups of students. I mean, I get out and meet students all the time, but actually get a group of ambassadors together with a student voice and really give them the opportunity to speak for their peers and get that feedback from their faces, rather than in a survey, which can be a bit impersonal in that sense. So something that we're going to roll out, definitely.
It's sounding really good. I mean, we've had a little experience here. I think we mentioned it before. We had 4 or 5 students from Discovery College way back in the day. We had some partnership work with Albion and the police and Ghana Link and the radio studio, and watching them in their experience at the college and what they brought here and how they just lit up, given those, particularly the Ghana Link guys, were just sharing their lived experience, what it was like, what education was like in Ghana. And the Plymouth students were, after a few sessions of that, came in, and what they put together on the radio was their appreciation of, man, I'm really starting to value what I've got. It's brilliant in comparison to what they had. Have you got, do you get much feedback from students about the opportunity they've got compared to where they thought they might have been heading, and how the college is really giving them that kind of opportunity? Has you been there long enough to do that yet, or do I need to turn to Tom for that one?
I think there are a number of students that I can think of now that are really appreciating the opportunities they've got. In particular, one particular area that we've got that is within our supported internships.
Oh, definitely. So, supported interns are the furthest from the job market in the city.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got currently 8 supported internships who are funded by Plymouth City Council to join us, which again is a really strong partnership for us. We really benefit greatly from a strong partnership with the council. These are young people with educational healthcare plans, so they have disabilities or medical conditions. They join us for a few days a week. We get them ready for the workplace. And then, so we currently do supported internship in sport and leisure and one in hospitality. The sport and leisure students are based at the Life Centre with Plymouth Active, and they spend 2 days a week in placement, and they're learning real hands-on life skills in all of the different departments within the leisure centre. And for me, I meet those students regularly, and they really appreciate the opportunities that they're getting there. And I know last year we had a student that got offered an apprenticeship, and I see him now. He's delivering swimming lessons to young people on a weekly basis, and he's working there, having done that course.
Yeah,
so when you said, Tom, supported internships, they can be the furthest away from the jobs market. That's those internships then just transition people through to an opportunity they may not have had.
Yeah, I go back to working very closely with Plymouth City Council, are big advocates of the supported internship model. These young people definitely need just a little bit more help at the beginning. So the young lad that Joe's referring to, if we sat with him at the beginning, he wouldn't have been able to hold a conversation. He wouldn't have been able to look you in the face. He certainly wouldn't have been in a public area. And now, thanks to the Plymouth Active Leisure team, Reese, who runs that, is a big advocate of the programme. He's working full-time in a very front-facing career. That's fantastic. What a journey that is. Yeah. So for me, it's a very good textbook example of what the difference Discovery College, YMCA makes. But ultimately, this is a collaboration. And I often say to our leadership, collaborate, don't compete. Well, so far we've talked about Plymouth City Council, YMCA, Discovery College and Plymouth Active Leisure to support one person. Yeah. but what a step that was. And that person or for that person, it's life-changing.
That's a great example, Tom. We've got to step some music. We've got to stop for some music, in fact. We're not going to step anywhere.
I'm not dancing.
No, we're not. That's not what happens when the music's on in the studio, honest. We'll be back right after this. And we're back and coming to the top of the hour and coming to the end of the programme, actually, which is a bit sad. So we're probably going to have to do all this again, Tom and Joe, in a few months' time or 6 months'
That'd be
time.
really
See how
good.
things have
welcome
progressed. Youth Awards, let's turn to you on that one, Tom. We spoke about that off air and you just reminded me, because the conversation took my brain completely out of the building. You've got the YMCA Youth Awards coming up. What is it? When is it? And who's involved?
The Youth Awards is the brainchild of our Youth and Families Manager, Sarah Newbury. And we are predominantly a youth-focused organisation, and what we felt that on a city-wide scale, young people who do fabulous things are not being celebrated or recognised for those fabulous things. And sometimes I speak to other adults, other work colleagues, and young people, teenagers in particular, actually, get quite a bad rep publicly. And then I get past all these case studies over the years, and I'm like, well, this is fantastic. Who's celebrating this? Where is that in the front page of the Herald, for example? Or the Chronicle, may I add? Yeah, both pieces would be great to celebrate young people. So
we can work on that.
We should. We really should,
We will.
especially leading up to the Youth Awards. So the Youth Awards is the opportunity, I think, working again in collaboration with City Council to promote, advocate, celebrate, inspire young people, because they inspire us, and that we can learn so much from young people. And last year, this is a genuine story. One of the sponsors of the awards asked me to come down to their building and help them shortlist a current 10 down to 3 people on the night. And I thought, wow, I've worked 27 years. This will be really easy, no problem. 2 hours, a box of tissues and some raw red eyes later, I walked out a broken man, because the people that were being nominated for this award were just incredible. And you'd say that about an adult, and some of these children were like 7, 9 years old, who had lost a parent and started fundraising and raised like £25,000. And you're sat there going, I would struggle to do that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That should be celebrated. So the Youth Awards is in June. Please go to our website. Please nominate a young person in Plymouth that you feel would fit one of the categories. There's like 14, 15 categories, because we want to celebrate them on a really positive stage platform at the Crown Plaza and give them the best night of their lives.
So more details on the website. Now, your website isn't just YMCA, is it? Because each YMCA, you're totally in, well, you're autonomous in
We
Plymouth,
are
aren't you?
autonomous, yeah.
Separate charity.
Yeah, so YMCA Plymouth. I mean, you could literally type in Youth Awards Plymouth, and it would come up very quickly. But yeah, please go to YMCA Plymouth. The Youth Awards is on there, and get nominating, please.
Excellent. So make sure you do that, folks, and we'll do a reminder of that at the end of the show. Joe, thinking of your weekdays at Discovery College.
Yeah.
What's a good day look like for you?
A good day. Yeah, quite a lot of the time, a good day is where you don't actually know what's coming, and being able to think on your feet, getting out in amongst the students, going to the classrooms. A particular good example of this was last week. We one of our sports lecturers got his level 2 group to organise a football tournament, and they went out and got students from lots of different groups, and they put on the tournament last Thursday on the AstroTurf pitch, and there was a real buzz around the AstroTurf pitch. We had 20-30 learners playing football in a tournament, really good spirited, and a team won it, and we're getting them a trophy, and we're going to get a nice picture with a trophy, and then we're going to do it again regularly. That's a really good day for me. Absolutely focused around the students.
Yeah.
Isn't that great? Students who have been taught teaching other students, like peer-to-peer learning. That's fab.
They did all the refereeing. You know, this it's level 2 group as well. They're not the most they're not the highest of groups in terms of the qualification they're working at, but they organised it. They set up the roster of players, the order in which teams would play. They came up with the rules, and they officiated it, and they did a really good job. And that was really good to see. And the tutor just supported them, stepped back, and actually helped them to do that with confidence. And they did it really well.
That's not a small thing to organise. Let's be fair on that. And what comes across really from both of you in all of it, and I think so. Looking from the outside into YMCA, into Discovery College, into the ethos is what you called that cyclical story. That seems to be the passion that is right at the core of it. Putting something out there for younger people to bring into their lives that they then bring out seems to be the thing that lights you both up.
I think at my end, we mentioned earlier about my own personal well-being, health issues. My job gives me great perspective. So when we're all sat at home at the end of the day and you think today's been a really bad day, it's been a really tough day, and you're feeling down and a little bit sorry for yourself. Actually, in my job, I get home, and when I have one of those, I have a reality check really quick. So some guy sat on my shoulder going, get over yourself, Tom. On the grand scheme of life, you really haven't got it that bad.
Yeah.
And you know that firsthand. And all of a sudden you snap out of it. So, okay, so I've got a couple of dodgy hips. They'll be fixed. And I'll go back to my lovely life with my wife and family and kids and all the rest of it. That is perspective. So I just would love to say to any of the listeners out there, when you're having a bad day, your bad day can often be somebody else's dream, and don't forget that.
Yeah, that's really good. Tom, thanks ever so much for coming in again today, especially when it's a challenge just getting out and about. Thanks very much. Knowing you a little bit, wouldn't expect you to do anything less, but thank you, mate. And Joe, good to meet you for the first time.
Nice one. Thanks for having me in.
Best in everything that you're doing at Discovery College.
Thank you.
If you want to catch that again or find out more, then check us up on, where are we? crossrhythms.co.uk/Plymouth and check our listen again. Or search up CR Plymouth. If you want to search something else and very meaningful up, look for YMCA Plymouth, look for Plymouth Youth Awards and get involved. Nominate a young person, find out what it's all about. If you've got any questions, you better find out the information you need at the YMCA Plymouth website. We're back tomorrow, unless it's Friday today. This is pre-recorded, in which case we're not back tomorrow. It's community radio, folks. I can do those kind of mistakes. We're back one day in the week anyway, at 11 o'clock on Community Matters. Stay tuned. There's music all day, every day here on the station. It's a pleasure having you with us, and enjoy the rest of your day.